But we try to stay out of politics.
Mm-hmm.
We really do, but it's so hard. We try to stay biblical.
Yeah.
So what do you do,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been given permission by my wife to go ahead.
Well, to
I've
an
been
extent.
given the
I'll
green
still
light.
try to rein you in if possible.
I want to talk real quick about Maui and the
Mm-hmm.
fires.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's not getting enough coverage.
Yeah.
Like we're getting desensitized to a
Mhm.
lot of
Tragedies.
tragedies,
Yeah.
more so over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, to me, I felt is even more important
Mm-hmm.
to talk about because it does involve a lot of children.
Yeah.
So, as of today, there have been over 100
Mm-hmm.
casualties.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's only the ones that they've found.
Yeah.
There's still over 900 missing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And those missing, well, I don't want to think this way, but we obviously know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You can't be missing
Mm-hmm.
in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a fire,
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
fire. So when it's all said and done, and they won't tell us this, but there's going to be probably, sadly, 1,000 deaths
Yeah.
in this.
Mm-hmm.
And many of those are children
Like, why would you say that?
because they've been reported
Mm-hmm.
by
Missing.
their parents.
I was in as
Missing.
Okay. Okay.
Again, they're not going to tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
So before the fire happened,
Mm-hmm.
there were strong winds, extremely strong winds.
Yeah.
You've seen some of the video of the fire, and you can see the wind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the severe winds, so they're less likely to know what to do in
Yeah.
these situations.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sad situation. So it's been bugging me. It's bugging me that not a lot of attention is given to this.
Mhm.
Not a lot of care.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there, many,
Mm-hmm.
that do care,
Yeah.
and there have been some that tried to do something,
Yeah.
tried to step in,
Yeah.
and others that resisted
Yeah.
that help
Yeah.
or roadblocked it.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard rumors that there were roadblocks. I don't know the accuracy of that, so I'm not gonna say for sure. But there were some things that seemed like there were nonprofits that were trying to reach out, and it was very hard to even get on the island to reach out to these people. And then you had to go through proper channels and that kind of stuff. But I don't know if that's all accurate. But that's what I've been hearing from certain.
I don't like
sources.
the whole idea of proper channels. Like
I
when you
know,
have a
it's the government,
situation,
I know.
when you have a situation, you get in there.
Yeah, I know.
Just like when
And a lot of people were wanting to. Honestly, there was a bunch of people that have been wanting to.
but they couldn't, right?
Hearts are breaking for
Just
this
like with
situation.
these recent, the last couple of years, these school shootings.
Yeah.
You had these two kinds of outcomes. You had one
Mm-hmm.
where they wouldn't allow the police to go in,
Mm-hmm.
and many children died.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have one where they were allowed to go in.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't hesitate,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more lives were saved.
Yeah. Well, this I
And-
think was different. It was after the fire was pretty much
Yeah.
contained that happened. But
Yeah, I know. I'm not here to bring all the facts and whatnot. I'm just trying to bring attention
Mm-hmm.
to the matter.
yeah, awareness is extremely important. Like in many of the articles I've written in the past for different companies and stuff like that, when you talk about awareness is one of the key components when you're wanting to, promote change. Honestly, is awareness. That's very important. And when you see that there's a glaring lack of awareness, then it definitely kind of raises some red flags for sure. Like what's going on and why is that
There's a lot of
happening?
areas today that will bring where we need awareness.
Yeah.
We'll cover a few areas.
And a lot of red tape that needs to be cut and just totally broken.
We're going to pick on the government today. So to the viewers, this is going to be a little out of the ordinary,
Mm-hmm.
but we try to stay out of politics.
Mm-hmm.
We really do, but it's so hard. And in fact, a lot of we try to stay biblical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of things that are biblical and against what the Bible teaches happen to be political stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you do,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been given permission by my wife to go ahead.
Well, to
I've
an
been given
extent.
the
I'll
green
still
light.
try to rein you in if possible.
But I will mention, I guess I won't mention by name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our current president.
Mm-hmm.
So he finally went to the site,
Mm-hmm.
but his comments disturbed me. What he said. He didn't mention the victims. He didn't mention any lives.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned homes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tragedy, he said. I'm going to paraphrase. It's a tragedy that these homes have been lost.
Mm-hmm.
For one, that bugs me.
Yeah.
Like, who cares about the home?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares about that?
Mm-hmm.
What about the lives? That's
Mhm.
what I care about.
Mm-hmm.
And then he used in a joking way, a story that when he was, I don't know how many years ago, but he said he could relate
Mm-hmm.
that he had a fire at his home
Mm-hmm.
where he almost lost his Corvette, he says, my Corvette, and my dog.
Oh dear. Not very tactful.
Now, not at all.
Wow.
What do you do?
You pray for them.
And,
That's what you
and
do.
myself. Pray for myself.
I think that's the struggle. It sounds very tactless, honestly, and that's,
But even then,
but it's very
I'm gonna-
hard.
I'm going to tell you, he did not almost lose that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that one story we heard? What was it, on American Idol or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
They try to get sympathy stories to get votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that one guy that would say,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to check my mail or whatever he said, and I went to tie my shoe, and a car went by, and I almost died.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, and then the next week he told another story,
Yeah.
and I almost died.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what are you talking about? No, you didn't.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to be more
So-
relatable, but
so
it's
with
not. It's
this-
falling short.
So with this president who made these comments,
Mm-hmm.
the truth is he did not almost lose his home. The firefighters that were involved came out and said that the fire was started by it was electrical.
Mm-hmm.
It happened in the kitchen and it was contained.
Mm-hmm.
It did not really spread anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I almost lost my dog and my Corvette.
Mm.
I could relate.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
It's
It's things like these that
and I think it's just it's hard because even harder because of, you know,
it's a lack of sympathy for
and
human life.
and also but you know, again, we're gonna pray for our people in leadership, and that's extremely important, that their hearts will be softened, and that's important to do. I think the Maui fire, I think it makes it even harder to deal with because these are people's lives. It's not something that you can just kind of banter around about, you know. But even if that happened and that it was, you know, unintentional, how he, you know, presented what he said, I think
I like how you really give things benefit of the doubt, and I'm glad you do.
I think that it's important to look at it from every angle. I think that we should really focus on, you know, our words. I mean, counting our words a little bit more deliberately, tactfully, for sure. And I mean, it shows us a lesson in being a little more tactful around that.
So I'm gonna touch another area that's could be quite controversial, but I'm not gonna go too far into it. I'm just gonna touch it with the brush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I also heard that a lot of the fires we hear about
Mm-hmm.
can be prevented
Mm-hmm.
had these counties or cities or towns would do
Deforestation.
yeah, is that what you call it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so you take out certain trees,
Yeah,
certain
like the one
limbs and brush.
Yeah, like the ones that are like basically burn They are threats. They'll easily go up and smoke, basically. Old brush
They're
under,
potential
yes,
hazards if there
exactly.
were to
Fire
be a fire.
hazards, yes. Yes. And
And
there's
and
the red tape that
and
comes in.
efforts are made, or maybe not efforts. Strong suggestions are made by electrical companies and fire departments to, what's it called?
To deforest, to clear out the brush
To
and
do
the under.
these clearings.
Yes.
Certain governors, certain cities, certain states, counties, whatnot, refuse this because of their, what do they call it, climate change,
I think because they
Green
think it'll affect.
New Deal stuff.
They think that it'll affect the climate in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
So
So the reason I touch on that,
did the local people want it taken out? Was that what you had heard, or
the electrical department,
the electrical people? Okay, the company. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
See here, over here, we were just talking about down the road here. They're currently working on trimming
Back.
trees,
Yeah,
trimming them back from
trees.
power lines,
Uh-huh.
and they do that every few years,
Yes.
right? Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So, and some things don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the reason I bring that up is because where we're gonna go next, and I said we're gonna pick on the government
Okay.
in a way, and so recycling, this whole Green New Deal
Stuff.
garbage, and recycling, right?
Right.
So let me tell you what happens to your recycling. They push recycling so hard on everybody. And I do my part and I recycle,
Yeah.
as much as I can, but I'm not a freak. So when I recycle, okay, so what happens to your recycling is a lot of it really doesn't end up in the recycle. A lot of recycling cannot be recycled. And what happens to this is it goes overseas, all this recycling, because we don't want it. Even though they told us to put it in the recycle bin, we don't want it. So we send it overseas. And overseas, they try to do what they can with it, but a lot of it, they can't do anything with it. And these are poor areas where they send it.
Oh.
And what they do is burn it. They
That's
burned
toxic
it.
stuff.
It's toxic. But it's not over here. The toxic fumes are not here. Right? But they're elsewhere. And that's totally fine. So,
It's not totally fine.
no, I know. I'm being sarcastic.
I know, but it didn't sound that way,
it's-
so I had to clarify.
Somebody else says it's totally fine.
It's not totally fine.
And again, if the United States were to go 100%
Recycling.
not recycling, but green, you still ain't going to make a dent in helping the planet. We're a small country. There's a whole globe.
Yeah, and actually,
Everybody would have to
we're
be
not
on
one
board.
of the we're not one of the most
But
polluters. But
even then, when you send it somewhere else and it gets burnt somewhere else,
yeah,
it's affecting the globe,
yes, it is.
right?
Yeah.
And we're part of the globe, so
Yeah.
it still affects us.
Yes.
So some things, again, make sense and some things don't make sense.
Yeah, you can make smart choices to reuse. I always like it when we do like repurpose things. That's always a
I
really
like to do
good.
that because
Yeah,
it saves money.
I like to do that because it's also good because this is the world and we are trying to make it, not make it, but keep it as best we can. And
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
get
no,
that.
I care.
But I think it's important that the
I-
methods are proven working. I think that's important. Like now, if we can get actual proven methods to actually work where we don't send these things overseas to pollute other people, that would probably be the best, I would think.
And like I was going to say, I do care
Yeah.
about the planet.
Yeah.
Care about people. I
Yeah.
care about a lot of things.
We want to take care of the earth.
And I do my part. But like you said, when it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So do we submit to this stuff? Do we submit to following these government rules and regulations?
Can I just say one thing about
Go
that?
ahead.
That really irritated me. So when we had the COVID hit and all those masks and they got rid of the bags, right? The plastic bags in the grocery stores and stuff like that, which is fine, whatever. I got irritated because I saw masks all over the ground in the parking lots and everything. And I'm like, okay.
Litter.
I'm like, what? You got rid of the bags, but you replaced it with masks. Like, it's so annoying. I'm like, man, you'd think they would have come up with something like that, figured that one out. That's all I'm saying. It's
I
just
heard they're
irritating.
bringing that back.
Yeah.
The masks.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so-
all
and-
I'm saying
and-
is that
Okay,
I didn't like that it
I'm
was
not-
like you're replacing
look.
one with another.
I'm not going to be a conspiracy
Theorist.
theorist,
Yes.
but this is just what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't come to pass, fine. I'm just telling you what I heard. That around September, they're already having talks. I've already heard it.
Yeah.
I can bring proof, but I'm not going to do it here. But I've heard from actual people's mouth in government that are talking about variants out there, and maybe we should wear masks. So they're bringing the talks back,
Yeah.
and then in September, maybe they're going to enforce. I think they're going to enforce them for like airlines and whatnot. And they have a plan. October, they're going to implement it more, and by December even more. So I don't know where it's going to go.
Just letting
or
you
if-
guys know if
if
that
they're gonna
happens.
do this.
Here's your heads up if it happens. You know, they also were talking about they've been notifying to get the flu vaccine a lot, and I think it's because they say it's going to be really hard, and that could kind of correlate with the mask situation, because they said in the wintertime that that the flu, they expect the flu season to be really high up there, so that could correlate with the mask situation. Just to kind of verify what you were saying, because I just got notified about that,
yeah.
getting a vaccine for the flu.
So, what does the Bible say about us following the government, submitting to the government? So this one I don't know if the word is ruffle some feathers. It's controversial for just everyday people and Christians, people in the church. Don't always see eye to eye on this.
Yeah.
Whatever God says, whatever's in the Bible, I gotta go by it.
Yeah.
If it's not in there, I can't go by it. Right?
Yeah.
So
I could get into something else on that, but
that's just
I
the
won't.
way it is. That's just the way it is.
yeah.
So you can't pick and choose. You can't make the Bible what you want it to.
Yes, yes.
So can you read this for me? This
Okay.
is what,
I'm reading this.
yeah.
Okay.
This is in Romans. This is what it says about
Romans
just-
13.
Yeah, just a highlighted area.
Okay.
This is what it says about. Okay, first let me say this. It says, God says that we are to be subject to the government, that we have to obey the laws of the land, the laws of man. But we'll get a little more into that. But this is what it says about that.
So here's a preface to that whole idea. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves.
Okay, so to me that sounds a little straightforward. And then if you can finish off with that.
And then skipping down to verse 6 and 13. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing.
Okay. So we pay taxes. We may not like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Taxes in itself, fine. Right? We need to give money to the government to pay to repair the streets.
For
and
resources, for health, for those kinds of things.
Okay. So taxes itself, I don't have a problem with. It's the amount of taxes.
Yeah.
The fake taxes, the taxes. They're going to tax taxes eventually.
Yeah.
So that was a joke.
Okay.
But so whether you like it or not, we have to pay it. Even if it gets into the corrupt level.
Yeah.
Right?
Even Jesus paid taxes.
Yes.
If you look in the scriptures, talks about it.
So we got to do it. Gas prices, nobody likes them right now.
Yeah. And the price on groceries. Woo, buddy.
Everything.
Everything's gone up.
Everything.
It's
right?
horrible.
Everything's gone up,
Inflation.
but we pay it.
Yeah.
What do? Do you go steal it? Do you go steal gas? Do you go steal food? Some people do, which is totally wrong, and they get away with it. But and some people don't pay their taxes.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of that, right? Especially in the government world, the political world. But you have to pay them,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
So in regards to like our governing authorities, we know that God put them in that position of power for a reason, whatever reason that is. We don't know all the time or at all usually. But I think it's important that we remember that they are people that God placed there, and that also we are to pray for them, and that because they are souls and God loves them. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Good.
Now, and this applies not just with taxes. This applies to all the laws of the land. This is what bothers me. A lot of things bother me. I got a list longer than...
Pet peeves. Other episode on Spotify, FYI.
Yeah, I got a long list.
Yes.
Of not pet peeves. Yeah, I guess they would
Yeah.
be pet peeves.
A little bit.
But rightfully so. So we're talking about traffic, right? And people are speeding. You know how people flash you,
Yeah.
their headlights,
If there's a cop.
because there's a cop up ahead. They're warning you, hey, slow down, right? I don't flash people.
Yeah.
If I see a cop parked somewhere and people are, headed in their
Flying.
direction, whether they're flying or not, I don't flash people to warn them there's a cop,
Yeah.
because I'm like, if you get pulled over, you probably deserved it if you're speeding,
Yeah.
right? Now, some people are going to say, well, whatever they're going to say. It's like, no, you got to warn them. And what do you mean they deserve it? We got to look out for each other. You mean look out for each other by letting you continue to break the law,
It's kind of enabling
right?
people. It's enabling people. Yeah.
Now, if I
get what you're saying.
get pulled over for speeding, then I deserved it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I do see what you're saying. I agree with you on
I'll
that.
flash people if there's an animal on the road, so the animal don't get hit,
Yeah.
and the car they
Yeah.
don't get into an accident,
That I
or
like.
if there's a person walking too close to the road or some situation, a hazard,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I'll flash people for that. Hey, watch out, be careful.
That's
Not
true.
hey, break the law in a second,
Or if there was a car
pass the cop, and
like
then
on the
go
side
ahead
of the
and
road. Yeah.
do your thing.
Oh, that's smart.
Fast and
that
Furious.
makes sense. I know. I agree with you, but at the same time, I'm like, I always like, oh, look, they're being nice. But then it's like, yeah, but they're helping you break the law. So people have flashed their headlights at me, and I wasn't going over the speed limit. They just were warning me, even though I was
Yeah,
still
they
going the speed limit.
tend to warn just every vehicle
Yeah.
in the vicinity.
Yeah,
So
you know,
anyway,
we digress. Let's go on to what we're talking about. Government.
yeah, yeah.
What was the laws of the land?
So-
So I guess that works.
Now, can I guess I would say a Christian, but anybody can you go against the law of the land? Is there situations where you can? Well, yes, there is. You can speed. So
Well, people speed. I
no,
don't know,
I'm
that's
kidding.
good.
But also in the Bible, it tells you when it comes to government, where you do not where you don't obey. And I don't know, maybe I'm using the wrong words. I got to be careful, right? But if you read this, April, then maybe it'll make more sense.
I keep getting called to read. This is okay. this
This
is
is in Acts.
Acts 5, verse 27 through 29. The apostles were brought in and made to appear before the Sanhedrin to be questioned by the high priest. We gave you strict orders not to teach in this name, he said. Yet you have filled Jerusalem with your teaching and are determined to make us guilty of this man's blood. Peter and the other apostles replied, We must obey God rather than human beings.
Okay. So, I like that. What do you say? We must obey God rather than human beings. So they did disobey the law.
Mm-hmm.
And when the man's law contradicts with God's law, then that is okay. What do you do?
Yeah.
That's when you disobey man's law. If it goes anytime it goes against God's law.
That's tricky too, because there are some taxes that they're taxing us now that support things that I don't agree with at all, and I biblically are not that
Yeah,
are
now
corrupt.
we're yeah.
So that's hard because
So
now
we're
you're like trying to thread the needle and try to figure it out.
yeah, so we're getting into that gray area now, that tricky line. Like, okay, pay your taxes, but don't do anything that goes against God.
Yeah.
But you're saying now some of those taxes are going to things that are
Against God.
supporting
Murdering
what's against God.
innocent
So
lives.
now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not
It's-
going to submit to that stuff.
Yeah, I like the story, or the not the story, but the verses you gave, because it's a lot more cut and dried with that one, where they're literally preaching the gospel. They're trying to tell others about Jesus. I think that is extremely important. I mean, if you look at that, there are many Christians in other countries that are going against the law of the land there. And they're doing it because they know that what's more important is following God and reaching the others for the gospel. And they're getting persecuted. So going along the line of these Peter and, was it Paul and Peter? I can't remember now. Well, anyway, they stood up against the government at that point in time. But that doesn't take you, and this is, we were watching a video about this. I can't remember what it was, where it was at, but they were talking, or what it was from. But they were talking about you still have to deal with the consequences of disobeying authorities, the ruling authorities, even though, you're doing it in the Lord's name and for his will and his purpose. You still have to deal with the consequences of
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
It's not like you can disobey the laws of the land and then and then
Try
say-
to run away from
and then
it.
say, no, you can't arrest me because I was doing what was right in the sight of God. You can't just say that and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's still, if it's the law of the land
Mm-hmm.
and there's consequences, you're going to have to deal with it. But
Mm-hmm.
they suffered knowing that.
And they rejoiced in their suffering,
Yeah.
which is always a very interesting thing that I think Christians compare, non-believers and
That's a hard one for
a lot of people to
non-believers to understand.
Like, why do you want to suffer? Like, that's so weird.
You're joyful.
You're strange.
You're at joy in your suffering.
Yeah,
how does that work?
What's up with that? But it's
Do you want to
because
explain it?
it's because we're honoring Christ. I mean, if we're to imitate Christ, and Christ suffered and died for us, I mean, the greatest imitation of Christ would be to suffer for him. That's what Christ did for us. Why wouldn't we do it for him?
Yeah.
And so that is the greatest imitation. That is the greatest reward, is to, suffer for him. Because we know in the end that we'll be rewarded in heaven for that. We know in the end that it won't be in vain. Because, when you suffer for righteousness, it's never in vain.
There's a lot of areas, I don't know if I'll go there, where also they go against God and things that are being forced upon us by the government. I don't know if I should mention them. I think people know what I'm talking about when it comes to
Certain things infiltrating.
identity-wise. There's a lot of things being forced upon us that go against the Word of God, clearly. So, I mean, what do you do with that? What do we do with that? Do we love people? We love them regardless. Do we agree with their decisions? No. Do we support them? No. Do we participate? No. But we love them.
Yeah.
As humans.
Yes. As souls.
Yes.
Yep. Every single one of them.
So, I mean, what do you do with that? Or what are we saying? Not calling anybody to riot, but whatever that means for you. If it just means
voting.
yeah, if you can go against that which is against the Word of God, if that means by voting,
Yeah.
by protesting, by signing petitions, by speaking to family and friends, speaking to others, doing what we're doing right now, just bringing awareness,
Yeah.
and praying. If
And nothing is too, nothing that you do it's not in vain. I said that earlier about doing not in vain, because even like a like on a certain social media platform will get you banned if you like something.
this video will get banned.
Might. And so just know that whatever you do to stand up for what you believe, and what is good morally, what is biblically sound, know that it is not going unnoticed. Whether no one sees it, we know that God sees it. And that's really important. So even if it's something so minor, or is even a thought change, or, just you thinking a different thought, or, just even standing up when you usually sit, you know what I mean? It's it's tricky.
It's an ugly, evil world.
Yeah.
But the goal is fear God, not man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. We are to try to be at peace with all men as much as possible. But that's when it goes in like what you talked about and what we read, but yet when it goes against the law of God, God's law, that is when changes have to be made.
Yeah.
Things have to be done for sure.
Okay.
But let's get back to the Maui fire.
Oh, I was going to just close this out, but
well, I think
no,
we need to just address this, that this touched both of our hearts. I actually did a post on Facebook about it a while ago. And there are some good nonprofit organizations out there. And one I posted on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, and I may do that on our regular one to help support those in Maui. But for you and me both, we just want to let people know that have been affected by the Maui fire, or people that are just watching and in horror and just sadness, that we are praying for those people. We are trying to not just pray, even though prayer is extremely powerful, and it's probably one of the best things you can do. There's other things as well.
Taking action and bringing awareness
to it. Yes. Donating your time, your money, your energy, even this podcast, talking about it right now. Those are all ways we can reach out and speak truth, and bring some clarity to the situation over there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are still watching, thank you.
We have one set of words of wisdom, right?
Well, do the same.
Okay. To
the viewers. Do the same. Share this. Spread the message. Get this awareness out there. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know if our editor, he's been slacking lately. He hasn't been putting the little clicks on here. Mm-hmm. The like, share, subscribe. But do it.
Do it.
And you are going to take us out with the verse, but we're going to call it Words of Wisdom.
Okay. So we have two verse references today. So the first one is Romans 13:1. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. And then the second one is found in Acts 5, verse 29. Peter and the other apostles replied, "We must obey God rather than human beings." Thanks for watching. If you like this show, hit that free subscribe button and share this video. We are on Facebook and Instagram. Also, check out our full-length podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. The links are provided in the description below. Thank you.